What's up, guys, and Happy New Year's. In this episode of Comfoodication, you're going to get to meet my friends Bo and Jade, who are leaders of this incredible homeless ministry called Fusion Ministries. Now, you're going to get to hear their story where they talk about the method behind the ministry. Here we go. So I'm here with my good friends Bo and Jade from the Fusion Ministry. I'm so happy to have them here. We're eating at Madre Tierra, an all vegan Mexican restaurant in Upland, right? That's kind of where we're at. So it's fire, so good, so good. I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, but I'd come back here for sure. We're here with Fusion. And Jade is kind of part of the leadership team in Sacramento, and Bo's, the one in charge in San Bernardino. And so for those who don't know what Fusion is, Bo, could you just explain a little bit of kind of what you do and how the ministry came about?
Yeah, I think Fusion is a combination of friendship and ministry, and the focus is relationships, right? And so it started, at least for San Bernardino, 2 years ago. I'm at a homeless shelter, at a men's shelter, and we go once a week, and through that experience, through those relationships, I really feel like time and love are relational, right? The more you love someone, the more the time will increase. And so in 2019, we started seeing them 3 times a week with Vespers in church, and then 2020, we started visiting 7 days a week, right?
Once the pandemic hit, and you were going.
And then once the pandemic hit, we were still going 7 days, but going to them. Yeah. And so I think it's beautiful how a collective group of people, like, not only did the love increase, it showed in our time, in our giving, and you could see the relationships grow and increase. And
right. Just by being with them, just by
being with them, just being present with them, together.
I remember when I started about 2 years ago with just going to the shelters. It was so cool just to eat with them, talk to them, hear their story. Yeah. But then once the pandemic hit, we couldn't do that, and our regular routine kind of had to be altered. But Bo, had the power of discernment and figured out, well, why don't we just, go to them on the street? Because we'd never done that before. Sure. And so a lot of good has come out of this pandemic. Because for me, I feel like, we're meeting them at their level now, and they feel a lot more comfortable when we're sharing, a burrito with them. And so tell me, how have you seen, not even just, because there's a lot of churches that go out and pass out food, but what's different about Fusion and what you guys do that's different, that you feel like has helped the people out in San Bernardino?
I think when you really love people, or in general, is what do you love? What do you care about? And they would tell us, we don't like when churches come out to visit us, because they're only coming out to make themselves feel better. They only come out to hand out food and say God bless you, or give us a pamphlet and then leave, right? So we'll never see them again, or we have no interaction. Right. And then I would ask them, well, you guys seem to embrace our group. Why? Yeah. Like, we love how you sit down, you talk, meet us at, like you said, meet us at our level, learn our names, have conversations with us. So that relationship aspect that interaction is huge, especially during the pandemic. Yeah, and
people are craving it.
Yeah, even with Sacramento, I hope Jade talks about it. When they first started, they were going out once a month, and then recently, her and her other leaders, Margaret and Asiva, I know this last weekend, they're like, hey, we want to start going out twice a month, right? Yeah. And so it shows a growth in love and time and relationships. Sure. So I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, because Jade is in charge of Sacramento, and this is kind of started new for Fusion. Bo took a group out, to different cities now, and Sacramento is a huge, connection in the Adventist church that we have, and Jade is kind of helping out there. So what's it like doing it in Sacramento?
Man, it's been such a blessing. I think from the start, I've been involved with ministry in Sacramento in general, and so at the time, I'm still part of this group, but the Northern California Conference Committee, Young Adult Committee, we were praying for just a direction in in what we want to do next, because we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings and engaging with young adults in that way. But we felt convicted to really go beyond the Zoom. Like there is such a thing as Zoom fatigue, you know?
People are getting tired of it.
Yeah, people are getting so tired of it. And so we had this idea of like going out to local church food pantries and seeing if they needed volunteers and stuff like that. So we prayed. And I remember specifically talking with our group and saying, man, all these ideas, you know, they're great, but without the Holy Spirit, you know, it's not going to happen. So let's pray for that. And I remember that specific prayer, and I know that God heard us because that week is when I linked up with my friend Cash, who happened to be involved in Fusion down in San Bernardino, and saw an opportunity to bring it to Sacramento.
Wow.
Yeah, and linked up, and that's where I met Hasive and Margaret, and since then, I mean, it's just really taken off.
That's awesome, especially during like this pandemic where it seemed at the beginning like people were very, you know, worried about themselves and, you know, making sure that they're safe. But, Bo, I know you had mentioned before, you know, kind of the reason why you didn't want to stay, you know, quarantined and safe. If you want to speak on that, like what really made you motivated to go out when the pandemic hit?
Well, I think that it's not we're inspired to go out to help people, but like, you know, when you have family, you know, you don't need to think about it, right? So when people want to say, hey, you know, why aren't you staying at home, you know, with your family? I say, that is my family, right? We know these people 2 years prior to this. So when the pandemic hit, it wasn't even a decision, right? It's like, hey, these are people we have a relationship with. These are people we care about. Right. You know, these are people we've invested 2 years. And so anyone, if someone called you, even a best friend or a relative, and they said, hey, Jordan, you know, I really need food. You're like, man, you know, for sure I'm going to go out.
Everything,
Go out there,
So
that's powerful. Just the, you know, the perspective shift of, you know, these aren't just people on the streets. Like, these are friends, these are family that you had built relationships with, and so it wasn't even a question about going out. And I'm sure in Sacramento you've started to build relationships with them, and so it's, you know, it gets easier to just know, like, okay, this is what I got to do.
So what's different about Fusion is never have I ever been a part of a homeless ministry where people were getting baptized. You know, that's something we have yet to experience in Sacramento, but I know that with the relationships we built, the intentionality is so different. You know, from ministry, you know, at People's Park was amazing, right? But the method is so different. It was like we expected people to come to us, versus Fusion is all about going to them.
And I want to talk more about that method. It's a replica of Christ's method, you know, what he did here on earth, which I think is so powerful, because sometimes people think, oh, Jesus just preached at people, but really his method was going to the people's houses, eating with them. And so food is a huge, you know, kind of that bridge to building relationships. It's like a vehicle, you know, just to get the conversation going. But then it's incredible to see, you know, people open up just over a little taco, you know. They feel so much more comfortable when you're eating with them, and you know, it's not like you're trying to preach at them. There's times where we don't even talk about God, talk about Christ, but they still feel the love of Christ because we want to get to know their hobbies, their likes, you know, what makes them tick.
Just like even the show, Comfoodication, you're trying to combine communication and food, and what a wonderful, like, representation of what Christ did, right? He was accused of being a glutton, that ate with sinners.
He ate too much.
So, you know, we're sinners. So, you know, even when he met with Zacchaeus, right? The first thing is not like anything about his sins or his past or he's done wrong. It's, hey, Zacchaeus, come down. I want to go eat with you. And so I think very much so we want to duplicate that method and meet people at their level, where they're at, in their houses, in their homes, in their neighborhoods, and hey, we came to eat with you. You know, not because we're above you, but because we're the same as you. You know, we want to understand. We want to show you guys. We love you. We want to show you Christ. You know, through our love, through our actions, not through our words. And you know, I think it's awesome that this ministry is for anyone. You don't have to be good at speaking. You don't have to be good at music. just have to be good at
listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone can listen.
being a friend to someone,
Right.
And through eating, I think food is an awesome vehicle to break the barriers, to meet with people.
And you've seen, like in terms of the people on the street in San Bernardino, their reception, they're more receptive to us and sharing the love of Christ. I know, like we were getting some baptisms when we were going to the shelters, but what has happened now that we've kind of shifted the method where we're going out and meeting them and hearing their stories? What kind of shift has that changed in their lives?
And a good example would be yesterday. There were about, I think, 80 of us that went out to the parks and were mingling with people, desiring their good and just talking to them, hearing them out. One of the gentlemen, his name is Julian, and 40 weeks ago we met this guy, and he doesn't want to really. Actually, he doesn't want to pray at all. He refuses prayer, and he just wants our food. But over 40 weeks, we're going every day. We're talking to this man. Hey, Julian, how are you? How are your kids? How his goal was to get his 3 kids back. He's like, hey, I'm working on it. And in this process, we start praying for him. He eventually asked us, hey, you know what? I do want prayer. I'd love for you guys to pray for my kids.
Wow.
And through that process, he gets his kids back. And he's like, you know
beautiful.
what? Prayer works.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got my kids back. He got a job.
That's
he got
incredible.
hired at Circle K. And you know what? It's crazy because yesterday when our group was there, he said, you know what? Well, I would love to get baptized. Can I start Bible
Praise
studies
the Lord.
tomorrow?
Man.
And I was like, we'll start. Yeah.
That's
So I said,
insane.
let's start Monday. We'll do Bible.
That's
And I said,
insane.
Julian, it's crazy. For 40 weeks, you've said you're not really into
Started,
Christianity.
yeah.
What caused the change?
Yeah.
He said, man, seeing you guys out here today, 80 of you guys coming to us,
Wow.
chasing after us, finding us, seeking us out, and caring about us, talking to us, praying, knowing our names,
That's
it gave me hope.
Right.
Every day, your visit gave me hope.
Wow. That's
And
powerful.
And Sabbath is not just for us to rest, but I think it's to bring rest to people. And so this man found rest each and every day when he came out.
Wow.
We don't have to wait till Saturday to have Sabbath, right?
Right.
And so I thought it was beautiful.
Man, that's so powerful to see the progress. Like you said, 40 weeks ago, a guy who was, didn't want prayer, but because of that intentionality and that consistency, now he's getting baptized in a few weeks, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
I remember when we were going to the shelters, we'd have that prayer circle after we'd eat dinner with them, and we'd go around and ask the guys, what any prayer requests, what are you guys grateful for? And one of the guys kind of mentioned on that note, he said, for my whole life I've been running from the church, I've been running from God, running from the church, and today God brought church to me. So that hit, I was choking up. I was trying not to tear up, but it was powerful because he could see the hand of God, being working through Fusion, and a lot of these guys who, don't want anything to do with the church, but they want relationships. I think that's what they're craving. They're craving the most is just relationships, and that's what Christ, when he was here on this earth, did. He built relationships first, and through that, then people's lives were changed. Or what would you want to say to maybe a volunteer that, or someone who wants to get involved? What can they do? Where can they find Fusion? And what words of encouragement would you want to give them?
I think our why is a great commission, to go out and make new disciples, baptizing people in his name. And in the Bible it says there's one single thing that causes all of heaven to rejoice, and that's when a lost person, a sinner, gives their life to the Lord. Think about that. The only time in the Bible where all of heaven is rejoicing is when someone lost is saved. And so that's our why. And I know that it's primarily the Holy Spirit's work and what he's doing. It's not us. Like maybe 99.99999%. But you know what? Just the fact that we have 0.001 chance to do something
we have
with our hands and feet for Christ, excites me that we can be part of this celebration, the cause of this celebration in heaven. And so I know there's a pandemic, but I would encourage anyone who wants to serve the Lord, or even has time or is interested in outreach ministry. There's a place for you. There's an opportunity to go out each and every day, 7 days a week. And if you want to know about Fusion San Bernardino, we have Facebook, Instagram is Fusion_San Bernardino, and Sacramento has a page too. I think it's Fusion Sacramento. So
awesome.
I hope people will check it out, and I hope encourage others not only to go out in these communities, but if you're not comfortable coming out to the working out with the homeless population, you can use these same principles at home with your family members, with your circle of friends at work, at school. So this is not just a promotion for homeless ministries. This is, hey, take Christ's method and apply it to whatever whatever community you're in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because we all have a different sphere of influence, but if we take what we can learn from Jesus, what he did here on earth, and apply that, man, what a different world this would be. And so it's awesome to be a part of, starting to change that mindset and change the world, one person at a time, just one relationship at a time. And man, I just thank you for the sharing and the conversation here. And thanks for watching this episode of Comfoodication. I hope you can personally apply Christ's method to your own sphere of influence. If you're interested in volunteering or donating to Fusion Ministries, links are in the descriptions down below. And join me next time as I focus on the able and not the label.